Thank you. Christopher, your response.
And in response to Marshall saying that to their Liberal increase, it's just a knee-jerk reaction and a desperate attempt really to grab votes rather than to properly address this serious pension issue.
Tell me, please.
People who retired from the public service last year will get the same 2.5% as long-term retirees. Long-term retirees who retired with low-wage jobs more than 20 years ago. And this is not really addressing a real need, and it's making the system even more unfair. And the NDP is committed to taking the problems of...
Thank you. And Christopher, you have a minute to respond.
I completely agree with the Liberal member here, Marshall Dean, on his response that this completely is an absolute disservice to the people here of the region. I am a little bit flabbergasted by Ms. Pike stating that, you know, you need someone at the table, at the table, at the table on a repetitive basis, because I don't know if there could have been anyone at the table that would have kept it there. And it seems like she's fairly confident that the PCs are going to form the government. And that's not necessarily the case. We do have an election on the go. It's up to the people to decide. This air ambulance issue is something that is very substantive to the region, and it's something that the PC government supports. So a vote for the PCs is certainly a vote saying that you support the removal and relocation of the air ambulance. It's as straightforward as that.
Thank you, Christopher. Our next question, and this goes to Christopher as well. What ideas do you have to fix the problems in healthcare in this region, Labrador-Grenville?
Well, we certainly have a number of them. And our platform, the NDP, that was our first pillar, is, you know, having healthy communities. And we've been calling for years to have a comprehensive plan for the province. You know, one that's province-wide that'll revitalize our healthcare system. We need an independent review that'll improve regional delivery of healthcare. That's something, you know, we're seeing an erosion of our services, difficulty retaining and recruiting staff. Right now the hospital only has 2 general practitioners there. We have specialists that are only coming in on a part-time basis. You know, this really speaks volumes to where our healthcare system is today. Universal healthcare is a fundamental and the very definition of what it is to be Canadian. And we have free healthcare because of New Democrats, because of Tommy Douglas. And we start to embrace new models of delivery. We got to look at improving on the ones that we have. And we must do this in a very logical, reasonable manner. And we have to recognize that our geography is going to dictate that sometimes we have special circumstances. But we shouldn't have to send people 400 plus kilometers away to go do dialysis when there's a unit here, or uproot families and have them, you know, in St. John's. It's time to do whatever we can to ensure that residents of rural areas have the best access to health care possible. And the New Democrats have a plan over the next 4 years that we would conduct a comprehensive independent review. We would reduce emergency room wait times, on-site clinics, increase staffing, put in community centers, long-term and home-term care. They're big pillars. We need to continue to expand the Newfoundland and Labrador prescription drug program so that you know, we do work with other provinces so that we can have a national pharmacare program.
Thank you. Next we have Marshall.
Thank you. The question is kind of specific to the region, I guess, and to Labrador-Grenville in particular, and it's difficult to answer that without really, you know, looking at the province as a whole. And I agree with most of what Christopher said without his comment to out of the NDP, so got it going so well across the province. But one of the greatest injustices, again, or one of the biggest mistakes, I believe, of the present government was when they dismantled our health board on the Northern Peninsula, took away something that we had had for years. It was the pride of not only ourselves, but of Newfoundland and Labrador in a lot of ways. And we were amalgamated with Labrador, and that's when our problems began. You know, we went down to 4 regional health authorities in the province. I believe the Liberal Party believes there should be a review. We believe that some of the authorities are too large, and we certainly believe that the one we're dealing with here in St. Anthony in the Northern Peninsula region is too large. And we're committed to doing that. And you know, we've seen our healthcare budget go to $2.6 billion in 2010-11. It's double of what it was 10 years ago. And unfortunately, we're not seeing the return of that in terms of effective health care.
Thank you. So,
Thank you very much. Healthcare right across this province, you know, we have problems in most every healthcare facility, I guess, but I can tell you that I've been into almost, well, a lot of the facilities, and we have as good a facility here in St. Anthony as anywhere. Do we have problems? Yep, we have problems. You know, recruiting doctors. It's been a problem since I've been here for 20 years, you know, and it's probably going to be a problem. It's a problem right across the country, recruiting doctors to rural areas. But, you know, this government has invested a lot of money in the past 8 years in this area. You know, we put the dialysis unit here. The Liberals promised it years ago, and we were the ones that put it here. You know, we have a CAT scan and other new equipment, the telehealth line, you know, so we have a lot of investments that this government has put into this region. And, you know, we want to keep this going.
thank you. Christopher, back to you.
The PC candidate is mistaken if she's saying that, you know, it's their government that put all this money into this region. I know that Kathy Dunderdale had taken a stab here at Marshall saying, you know, this was Tory money, this $30 million. Well, it's not. It was our money. We are the taxpayers, and we deserve to have high quality health care. Now, going back to Mr. Dean, he had stated, you know, earlier in this debate that, you know, we got to be forward thinking, and now in his conversation about the health boards, he's looking at going back and revisiting and revising them. I think we have to move forward based on what we have. We know that the healthcare system is in bad shape. You know, when it looks at, we're losing services and things like that, but we have to work with the stakeholders to ensure that we're having good primary care, long-term care, home care, and health services that serve the people here of the region in the best possible way.
Thank you. Finally, I could work. Question 1 from the Northern Pen now. They, I think, this has to be 5 minutes as well, yeah?
Yep, it's going to be the same form.
Run in the same
Up to-
format, they
up to
can
5.
ask whomever.
You can if you want, it's up to you.
Can you hear me? Sweet. Okay, so our first question is more of a process question in terms of the elections. Now, everyone bemoans the fact that voter turnout in this province is low and it's getting lower. So how do you three, and this isn't aimed at one of you in particular, maybe if you each give us a minute on your thoughts, but how do you feel about making voting compulsory, and what are your thoughts on fixed term elections, given that it comes just after Thanksgiving and some people aren't even around to vote?
Anybody in particular like to answer that first?
Well, you're
There's
supposed
an
to
order.
ask somebody first.
Okay, Selma, you're on the left. I'll go with you.
Fixed elections actually were brought about, you know, to make things easier for all the candidates. You know, now we know when the election is going to be. We know it's the second Tuesday in October every 4 years. And, you know, I haven't heard many complaints about that. I think it's a good thing. As for getting more people engaged in the elections, I think it's important to get our youth involved. You know, a lot more than they are. And with technology these days, you know, maybe one, you know, won't be too far down the road, we'll see people, you know, voting with their cell phones. You know, they do in other regions, they use the internet for voting. So I can see that happening. Probably not too far in the distant future. As for the other, with this election, I'm enjoying knocking on the doors. And that's my main focus this election is getting to know the people and getting everyone, you know, to know me as well. I know a lot of people in the district, but you know, I enjoy going to the doors and meeting the people and listening to their concerns.
Thank you. Christopher.
Well, we certainly, in terms of the voter turnout, I think we have to give people a reason to vote. A lot of people stay home because they don't feel there is an option there on the ballot, or there's a reason. They feel so disenfranchised from other parties in the process that that they decide, you know, I'm not going to get out and vote. I'm not going to have voice heard. And you know, there are a lot of people as well. We haven't made voting easy. You know, there are people on the move more and more than ever, and you know, for filling out special ballots or mailing ballots and things like that, it's just a whole bunch of paperwork. It should be made easy. We really should see an online voting process. You know, that should be phased in over time. Keep the process that we have, but look at the online voting. We really do need to engage voters. We need to get people out, not just the youth. We need to have everyone get out. In the last by-election, less than 60% of the population came out that could vote, to vote.
Marshall.
Thank you. I agree with Christopher that the process is very cumbersome at best, and the illustration I used with special ballots is certainly a good one, a legitimate one. I guess back to the two questions that were asked. Number one, should it be compulsory? I don't think it should be. I think it's a person's right, and they should have the freedom to vote or not to vote. Secondly, to the fixed election date, I think this summer we saw Santa Claus give out the most fire trucks that's ever been given out in a year. And for that reason, I don't agree with fixed election dates. It's an advantage to the government. Yeah, when the House closed in May, when we walked away from the House of Assembly in May month, all the ministers of the government walked off onto the election platform. They started, and it hasn't stopped yet, up until yesterday when the Premier announced $100 million for healthcare and corner. So I don't like the process. I believe it's unfair, especially to opposition. And as much as it's nice to see election every 4 years, knowing that it's coming 6 months in advance is hurting our democracy.